Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. We are cooking butternut squash chili today with Dr. Marsha Seidelman. So I'm excited to get started, and we'll hand it right off to her.
Okay, well, I'm excited too. This is one of my family's favoriteest dishes. And in fact, it's actually pretty funny. Hold on, I took out the original recipe from when we started making it. And this is, does this look like old school or what?
Oh my, that is a thing of beauty.
So that's when it started many years ago. It was a recipe in the New York Times at the time. Or no, it looks like the Washington Post, I have to say. But we've made it zillions of times. And like we say with every thing that we make here, it's very forgiving. So if you want to put in other stuff, take out other stuff, whatever you want to do, it's fine. So I'm just going to start by heating up my pan. And lately I've been trying out some new vegan type stuff. I'm taking a cooking course where we're learning how to use jackfruit and seitan. And I've made things that look so real, like brisket and pot roast. And what else did I make the other day? Oh, sausage, which I've never made sausage. So that was really quite an adventure. Has anyone made sausage? It takes.
Hey, Marge is on. Hi, Marge.
Let's see.
Oh, hi,
Sorry to interrupt you.
you're here for moral support. How are you?
Wow, you look good, Marge.
I am in absolutely no pain and on absolutely no medicine.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I'm going to the doctor on Wednesday. I feel like there's something wrong with me because everything that everyone has said is that this is the most painful thing they've ever been through. I've heard it from people after the fact. Who've said,
I think you ought to cancel that appointment for Wednesday.
No. I want the bandages off, and I need to know. I mean, I'm still sleeping in a chair. I'm still, having some, let's say, attire challenges because there are things I'm not permitted to put on my shoulder. Imagine what that might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's like nothing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's awkward. You can't do things. I can't do any, I can move the fingers, but I don't want to lift things. I don't know. What do I know? I'll let you know next week.
Okay.
Maybe I can cook next week if I can take my arm out of the sling.
But
we don't know that. That may be jumping ahead.
Okay. Good to see.
Adding my carrots, onions, and garlic now.
Can I ask a quick question, Marsha?
Yes.
I'm not jumping ahead, but I sort of am in that I got frozen corn. Should I drain the corn?
I would just rinse some warm water over put it in a colander.
Okay.
Should you what the corn? Should you
drain? Should I drain it? Like I got frozen corn and I've had it sitting out. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't hear the question. Yeah. So drain it, whether it's canned or frozen. Yeah, we don't need that liquid. I was just experimenting before we turned on the video with like cocoa chili powder, which used to come as a thing, like you could just buy cocoa chili powder, and it was great in this dish, but it doesn't, I searched the internet, I cannot find it anywhere. So I've looked up recipes, and basically you just put together cocoa, unsweetened cocoa powder and chili powder, but I'm not sure if I've gotten the right proportions yet. So I got up to 4 teaspoons of chili powder with 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, but you may need more chili powder. Like it depends what taste you like. It's probably better with more chili and less cocoa.
But you said 4 tablespoons of chili and 2 of cocoa. So you're just adding the cocoa in addition to what 1 to 4, right?
No, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, 4 teaspoons of chili, but I think you can
Ah,
up the chili because it's not that hot. And then of course, by the time I finished tasting a few times, I was like,
yeah,
I can't taste anymore. I don't know.
okay.
But you could always just use chili powder and then sprinkle in some unsweetened cocoa. That would work as well. I just find it works. It's a nice taste in this dish. So I think we noticed last time that, you know, for most dishes, you add the onion first and then you add the garlic so that it doesn't burn. And in this dish, I've always just followed the directions and added them together, and it's never been a problem. You just have to stand over it and make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. So has anyone broken any resolutions yet?
I circumvent that whole process, Marsha, by not making any.
Yeah, I don't make it either. You just had, yesterday, my group, my Lady Docs group, had a meeting where a partner and I talked about the psychology of behavior change. And the whole thing is based on a model where, you know, you think everything through, you think about the obstacles and the motivation and this and that, and then you get to do what you said you were going to do, and then you make plans for when it doesn't go right. And with New Year's resolutions, you just jump right in and do it without any planning. And so, needless to say, 90 whatever percent don't work out too well.
Right.
I don't do them either, but a friend of mine had something on her Facebook page about how every year now for the last 3 or 4 years, she's picked a word and she wants that word to represent the year. So this year is growth. And she said, I don't know, you know, what that's going to mean for me. All I know is that I want to make sure that I try to do things that will help my personal, emotional growth, you know, educational growth, all these sorts of things for the year. I thought that was really an interesting approach.
That's something that you can just live with and move with. And
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. You're not saying I am going to do or I am not going to do. It's more of a kind of a theme. I thought it was kind of cool.
Mhm.
Marsha, I have a question for you. This is Lisa. Mine looks like close to being finished. Is it supposed to be really thick and more stew-like? There's not a lot of
So
liquid in it.
it usually, it's not very liquid to begin with, and as the vegetables shrink a little bit, it's more liquid. But in the past, when I made like single doses of this, I did sometimes add another can of pureed tomatoes, or, you know, I don't usually add liquids, just plain broth or anything, so I don't know how that would work out, but I have added an extra can, even like a small 15-ounce one, just to make it a little looser if it's really too thick.
Okay.
So I know that soup is forgiving and we can swap things, but I was curious that in the recipe has chopped tomatoes in their juices. And I didn't know if that's the same as diced. And then it also had pureed tomatoes, which there's like crushed, there's like all these things, but I did find pureed, but don't know if you guys know the difference of all these things and whether it matters.
Yeah, so diced and chopped are the same, so those are totally interchangeable. And if you don't find puree, you could use like the whole plum tomatoes, San Marzano, or just whatever, and smush them. And then it's pureed. So that works out as well. Because they break down anyway as you cook them. So my initial batch is the carrots are starting to get soft. So I'm going to add the tomatoes squash, and parsnips. The original recipe, now that I'm looking at it, is for rutabaga, but I love parsnips, so I substitute it whenever I see turnips or rutabaga. I usually use parsnips instead.
Do you love them for taste or health or both?
For taste, because as they cook, they get so sweet. Does anyone use parsnips in their chicken soup? That's my favorite. And I think this goes in as well, right? The squash. So this is quite a large bowl. Yeah, so, everyone has a different take on chicken soup. I think that's one of those things that it's so much a comfort food that it's whatever your mom made. That's the way you like it to taste. And my chicken soup, I love, my kids love, and it's got parsnips in it. I think that's what the difference, what the great thing about it is. So anyway, it's the hot tip for today.
Love it.
But when this finishes, try to fish out some of the parsnips and see how they taste. Because I think they're just really sweet. And of course, the corn is really sweet. Everything's really sweet. I don't remember if I told the story behind this recipe last time, but many years ago, my sisterhood was doing a dinner at Children's Inn. And so, we were doing a chili night. So one person made chicken chili, and I said, I'll make my butternut squash chili. And they said, no one's going to eat that. And I was like, all right, but I'll make it, because I think if people are there and they want a vegetarian option, it's a good option. And by the end, everyone else who was serving there with me wanted the recipe. So it works for people, even doubters.
We have to get you to make the borscht. I promised there'd be no doubters afterwards, and we still have a few doubters.
Wasn't that amazing? I was a doubter.
Yeah,
but
and you liked it, right?
You
gotta convince Marsha. That's our goal now.
That's a definite no. What we'll have to do is we'll have to make it and just deliver a little bit to her, deliver a quart to her.
I wish we could color it chocolate, because that color is the big giveaway.
Marsha, is your borscht, is it the pureed soup, or is it the chunks with the beets?
It actually wasn't mine. It was Dominique's. Do you remember?
I guess I missed it.
She said that she likes it chunky, but that the recipe she used says you could serve it either way.
Yeah, I forget how I made it, but I remember I was like, I don't think I'm going to be eating this. And it was so good.
Yep, that's how I felt.
I have this memory of this beautifully bright, vibrant pink soup. And to me, that's what I equate with borscht. And I think it's just that I have the terminology wrong, that borscht is actually a different soup. And I don't know what this creamy pink soup is. But a friend of mine made borscht, and I had the first my image in my mind. So I was surprised. But I would rather know what an authentic borscht is than
Alexa,
yes.
borscht is usually a darker magenta, but it depends on the color of the beets you use. And if you cut the beets with the golden beets, it's going to be lighter. Plus, many people mix borscht with sour cream, which lightens the color of the borscht. So that would explain more of a pink versus that magnificent dark red.
But it's
All
a
of those-
puree. It's a puree.
I've had
Or
it
some
both-
people leave it all pieces.
Well,
I've
not
had it
all,
both
but
ways.
chunky.
Interesting. Okay.
Or shredded,
Well, I'll
or
be sure to
shredded.
join in.
Well, you know, actually, I'll tell you, Cheryl had invited a mother-daughter team of neighbors from the Ukraine who made us a Ukrainian made with us a Ukrainian borscht about a year ago. And it was delicious. Now, there was an enormous amount of meat in this one, and the one we made with Dominique was not a meaty borscht. But this thing, Cheryl, wasn't it? What was it about that borscht that was so darn good? Remember, there was like extras because we wanted to deliver to some family, and we were like, "I'll take it. I'll take it."
I don't remember what we did with it. I'm sure we have the recipe somewhere, but it was really special. It was, maybe it was the company.
Yeah, I agree. It was, I think on May 5th, and I'm not a borscht eater, but I would eat that soup again.
Yeah.
It was really a wonderful recipe.
So this was the Ukrainian one you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's different. Wasn't there a Ukrainian green soup that was a kind soup also?
I don't, yes. What the heck was it? Yeah, I tried to pick out a bunch of Ukrainian soups during the last year. There was one that had a lot of herbs in it. But the day we were cooking our Ukrainian welcome meal, we had created the recipe before we had met the neighbors. And so we used Dominique's recipe for the borscht. And they came over and they said, "Oh, no, 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 no." And they said, "No, I'll be in charge of the borscht. You ladies be in charge of the other dishes." And boy, they turned it into something. I mean, we thought what we cooked last year with Dominique was delicious. If you can eat meat and want to, that one was amazing.
Interesting. I wonder if we could do that for kind soups and just use, if someone doesn't want to use meat, maybe use, the meat crumbles from Gardein or,
Mhm. Probably.
Marsha, what has been your experience of using jackfruit in these vegan recipes? Do you recommend it? Does it take some getting used to? Is it a simple swap? Does it have good mouth feel?
So I made a pot roast with it in chunks, and it came, so I was told I could get in the can or frozen or fresh. And one of my friends who's from India, who has cooked it in the past and doesn't like it, told me I should get canned, but I was at Trader Joe's and the only type they had was in brine. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. But I got it and I rinsed it and I made this pot roast. The pot roast was delicious. And the texture of the jackfruit I thought was kind of nice. It was like a soft meat that you had cooked for a while. But my next thing that I should have before next week's kind soups is I have to make something that looks like shredded pork, just shredded meat. And I bought frozen this time, thinking maybe it won't have, it had like a funny taste that tasted like brine last time.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to use the frozen, which of course is not in brine, and I'll get back to you. But the texture of it was, I thought it was kind of nice. It was like a soft, as if you had done a stew and, had some nice soft meat afterwards.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend said, told me she didn't like it. And I said, I will have anything once.
Which brings me back to all the abuse I take about the borscht. So my feeling, this is serious. My feeling about beets is that there's nothing about them that's horrible. They're not incredibly I mean, they've got an earthy taste, but there's nothing, they're not too spicy for me to get down. There's nothing horrible. They're not gross looking. In fact, they're beautiful. And so every year or so, obviously not during COVID, but my husband likes beets. So he'll go out and he'll get a salad with beets. And so I try them usually whenever he orders a salad with beets. And it doesn't, there's something about them. They're just, the golden ones taste much better than the red ones. There's no question. They're much milder. And I guess you could make golden borscht. That would probably be boring though, because it would taste like, not like borscht. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I mean, we were raised, one of my grandmothers liked borscht and used to cook it. So it wasn't like something I wasn't exposed to. It just never did it for me. So.
Okay. Well, you know, there's some genetic things with certain things like cilantro where people
Right.
like they taste it differently than other people. So maybe you just taste it differently and it's just like, nope.
Yeah. I went to there was a thing one year, one of the Cornell reunions. Actually, they do this wine thing every year when they do the reunions. And at the wine thing, they also had food tables, local upstate New York companies. And one of them was a beet company. So they had like 3 or 4 different little hors d'oeuvres with beets different ways, wrapped with vegetables or cheese. And so I tasted them. And again, I felt like that was my opportunity to taste them. And that's when it was clear to me the golden ones are much easier, much more palatable than the red ones are. And they were so nice that I bought a package of them and brought them home for my husband to eat. There's no way was I going to eat these things. I tried them. I was proud of myself. I'm done.
You tried them with goat cheese, beets with goat cheese on a salad. Good.
That may have been one. I mean, they truly had like these little appetizers set up. It was lovely. But
I just want to cut in about the soup. So just be sure that nothing's sticking on the bottom. That's the only thing. And it should be boiling, you know, a bit because otherwise the carrots, parsnips, and butternut squash take a really long time to cook. So it should be, you know, not just minimally simmering, but a bit more than that.
And learn from my mistake. I did exactly that, and it was cooking a little more than it should have been. And I ran up to take a shower, and now I have a lot of stuff stuck on the bottom of my. That's, you know what? Some people teach you what you should do when you're cooking soup, and others warn you what you shouldn't do when you're cooking soup.
Okay, well, we need both.
Yes, exactly. I'm doing my part.
After the boiling, when we turn it down, at that point or later on, do we cover it?
You can. I'm just trying to think what I usually do. I usually wing it, but it would be reasonable to cover it because I think it would keep it boiling a little bit more. So I'll say yes.
Good answer.
You know, when you make the same dish over and over, which I don't do too often, but this dish I've made dozens of times and I don't even think about it, like, you know, whatever. And I haven't ruined it yet, so that works.
So was this the dish that you and Danielle cooked for us together last time? Yeah, so she's still making it, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And still asked for it when she came home at Thanksgiving. So it's still a family thing.
How much kosher salt do you think you're going to be adding?
If your tomatoes are salt-free or low salt, it takes a bit. Like I feel like I sprinkle pretty generously and then I taste it and then I sprinkle again. Let me see if I can. I'm going to sprinkle it into a saucer and then see how much it comes out to, if I could estimate for you.
But would love the guesstimate.
Something to start with, right?
So Marge, I'm going to relieve you tomorrow by driving my soups out to the latest shelter that actually welcomed a microwave that I donated last week. Oh, look at that.
Rita says she's very happy that you're taking the soup tomorrow. Because, as you know, I am not lifting the soup, and I tried to convince Rita she should do it, but at 5 pounds, she just can't manage it.
It's amazing. You can lift her. Or are you just using one arm?
I'm using one arm, and remember, she only weighs 5 pounds, but I would not lift her with my left hand. The most I've done is kind of, now I can wash something and hold it in my left hand while I wash with my right hand, but it's not, I wouldn't be able to hold a pot.
Okay. Well, you sound like a star patient for your doctor.
It'll be interesting, maybe I've done something wrong. It's like, maybe I'm supposed to be doing something that would cause my arm to hurt. But I got that ice machine, and when the nerve block came out, which was last Tuesday, I took Tylenol with codeine a couple of times, and I tried the ice machine, which was fine, but then I realized my arm didn't hurt, so why was I using the ice machine?
Oh, send it back.
I think it's probably a good thing to have, because I think it's, it doesn't take up very much space. Okay. And just because I've got the shoulder attachment doesn't mean, let's say if you screw up your knee, you just can't, won't fit perfectly, but you could put it on a knee or an ankle or whatever.
Marge, I think when you take physical therapy, you'll be happy to have the ice machine for after the physical therapy.
Well, that's a great
thought. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have your physical therapy lined up for after?
I'm not allowed to do anything until after the doctor clears me twice.
Yeah.
So it'll be at least another 2 weeks.
No, yeah, but you need to book, because the PTs and the OTs are really heavily in demand. I mean, my daughter booked an OT, and I didn't start until 6 weeks after my surgery. They're in demand.
Has anyone heard of a guy named, I think his name is Gary Lynn? He's at the corner of Montrose and Seven Locks in that building.
No.
A couple of people have mentioned him, and he's on the list that the doctor mentioned. So I think that I may give them a call. You're probably right. I probably should book something. But again, I don't even know if we're talking about once a week, twice a week. Maybe I'll wait till Wednesday. And then
No. It's not up to you. For example, my doctor wrote me out a prescription 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 6 weeks. And when my daughter saw that, she's a PT, she laughed and she said, "Oh, that's so typical. The first time you visit, you get an evaluation. The therapist will decide."
Right. Yeah, I've had PT before for various things, including, I think, once upon a time, my shoulder. I had a frozen shoulder. This has got to be 15, 20 years ago.
The same one?
Who remembers? I don't know. Who knows? Your elbow hurts. I mean, I know I had an elbow issue once where I got a cortisone shot in the elbow that was fine. I mean, we're going back 20 years.
Oh.
I've had problems with my back. I've never had leg problems, with back and shoulders and whatever, but nothing major. At least I didn't think so. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday, because I really want him to tell me that I don't have to wear this stupid thing, or that I can wear it fewer hours, or that I could sleep in a bed, because sleeping in a chair is not fun.
Marge, I have a recommendation for you also. You can look on your list and see if this person, I have a frozen shoulder myself. I've been getting treated for about a year.
Okay.
Like a little bit more than a year now. And I'm going to this woman named Angela Gordon. She said, so it's in McLean, but it's literally like right on off Chainbridge Road. It's you take the exit and it's right there. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
For you to get on the Beltway.
Right.
The name of the company is Advanced Kinetics.
Okay.
And Angela Gordon is she's a co-owner, and she's also a therapist.
Okay. I'll look and
I really feel like she has done wonders for my shoulder. I've been really happy.
That's on the list.
I like the whole
Marsha?
organization too.
Okay.
Marsha? Marsha, do you have it set up in any way so we can see what yours is looking like right now?
And also I would start with 2 teaspoons of salt, I would say, and then go from there.
Okay.
So let's see, you're gonna have to let me know if I'm.
All right, a little farther, a little farther.
Yeah.
And nope, nope,
Yeah.
further to the left. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty good, except it's very fuzzy.
Wait, yeah. You know
Yeah.
why? It's because of the steam. Let me see if I can turn up my exhaust.
I think it's also, did you have blur as your background?
Oh, that's what it
yeah,
is. Thank
I
you,
do. Okay,
Alexa.
hold on. Let me see. Huh. How do I change it once it's there? Wait a minute.
Can't she go to her chat and then on the top right-hand corner, change?
It's on video.
If you're on your phone, yeah.
Okay, good point. Okay. Ah,
Everything's great. Oh, beautiful. Okay.
let's see. Wait.
Ah, yours is kind of soupy. Will you stir it? It's beautiful. Mine was much drier. So I was shaking my head when Cheryl was asking.
But you haven't added the corn or the beans yet, right?
Correct.
Okay, you said
So
2 teaspoons of salt.
I would start with that, yeah.
Okay.
You know, with tomato dishes, I find that you have to counter the acidity. You know, and the salt kind of helps, otherwise it tastes a little bitter and the salt kind of gets rid of that. I don't really need my exhaust on high. It was my blur. That was a good point.
So I have a question. Is kosher salt only coarse?
I have seen it written as fine. Also, you know, usually I buy it as the coarse stuff, but I
Okay.
have seen it in the store as fine kosher salt, and then I don't understand. Like, I don't, I don't
Okay.
know why you would buy that, because to me, in my mind, kosher salt is the
Okay.
place, but do you know? Anyone know?
I know that I have one that's coarse and one that's fine. And I think I bought the one that's fine by mistake. And I'm like, you know, just using it for a couple of years.
Yeah. So you just have to be careful that, you know, the teaspoons don't translate exactly, because the fine salt will put more granules into a teaspoon than coarse salt, you know,
Right.
because the coarse things don't sit right next to each other. So just not to use too much of the fine salt. You know, it's not teaspoon per teaspoon.
My soup is so thick. Is everyone else's thick?
Is it boiling quite a bit?
Well, I turned it down to the lowest setting, but it's like I almost have to arm wrestle it. It's like, you know, like this. There's so much in it, and I have a huge pot.
And
I don't know.
that's before the beans and everything?
The beans are in. Everything is in.
Oh, okay. Did you cook the other things down first or no?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so do you have an extra can of just pureed tomatoes? Just-
Probably.
Yeah.
Even just sauce, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
it'll change depending on how much sugar or salt is in it, it'll change it a little bit, but you know, I think it's fine. It's
I mean, it's chili, I guess, right? So thick. See here. Crushed tomatoes.
Yeah, crushed tomatoes is fine.
We're gonna let it cook a little longer and see if it, you know, if it thins out with time.
Yeah, so mine has been going for 20 minutes now, but it's nowhere near soft, so. Because, you know, the corn and the beans will, it's not going to matter so much, but they'll break down a bit more if you just keep cooking them. So that's why we
Okay.
cook other things first and then add the beans later on. But I've also just forgotten that what I was doing and threw them all in at the same time. And, you know, in the end, it's all the same.
All good.
So Marsha, is the goal for the squash and parsnips to be soft after the 20 minutes, or
Not,
are they
not
supposed to be
quite
on their way?
on their way. Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
all right.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. I'm gonna pull out a couple now and see where we are.
I'm doing it from the Lady Doc's recipe that I printed out. So it says not to add the chili powder and chili pepper until after you up to the corn. Is there a reason not to put it in earlier?
No, I guess, you know, for the spices, maybe not so much. With herbs, of course, they get cooked out so that you don't get the taste anymore. I can't imagine it would change much with chili powder.
But
So,
having mentioned Lady Docs, most of the people on the call probably know what Lady Docs is or are, or what it is. Will you share a little bit about what you've created and what lives on?
sure. So we started Lady Docs. It's a website, Lady Docs Corner Cafe. And we started about 10 years ago when a few of us, 6 of us, started exercising together. And eventually it just grew into, we started a website, and then now we have about, after yesterday, it's probably about 170 female health professionals on the site, which is mostly physicians, but a lot of therapists, nurses and dentists and various specialties. And we get together, like yesterday, we had a lunch and learn where some of us gave lectures. We walk on the canal every Sunday. We have book club every month or two, and we just do various activities. And then the website has educational things about either current articles or just things that we're interested in. My big thing, as you know, is the microbiome. And this week I posted a book review for someone on A Mind Unraveled, which is someone's awful trip through the healthcare system. So we try to learn from these books as well. A lot of them are very socially important topics. So those book reviews are there. There are articles. There's just sort of personal blogs, really just a variety, sort of everything and anything. And it's all about, you know, self-care and taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. So,
And one doesn't need to join anything to access that all treasure
just
trove.
go to the site and you could sign up to get the articles as they come out, or just go on as wanted. So, yeah.
I'm going to put it in the chat for whoever's interested.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Yeah, we love spreading the word. You know, my patients used to love it. And that's how I kind of keep in touch with them now. I closed my office in June, and you know, they still comment whenever they receive their articles. So it's kind of nice.
That's great. Thank you for doing all that.
Yeah. Actually, the next in 2 weeks, I think I'm starting this walk with a doc. Have you ever heard of that? You meet, it's once a month, and I'll be meeting them at Brookside Gardens and walking for, at first it's a little talk and then walk for an hour. So looking forward to that. It should be fun. I haven't done that before.
So did they make appointments with you to walk first, or whoever shows up in your group?
Yeah, I'll just send out, I still have this MailChimp that goes out to all my former patients. So I'll just send it out, and, you know, probably just 5 or 10 people will show up because, you know, it's cold and people have their own routines, but should be fun.
That's so nice, because, you know, you get to know your doctor in such a personal way, and they retire and they're out of your life in like the turn of a corner. So that's nice that they'll get to see you and you'll get to see them. Really
Yeah.
nice.
It'll be nice. It'll be good. So, yeah. Yeah, a lot of exciting things going on. I just had my acceptance for Charles E. Smith to be on their board of it's actually an advisory committee to their about quality of care. And I just had my orientation for the Maryland Council for Health and Wellness, and just all bits and pieces. So
Wow, lots of pieces coming together.
have fun.
Yeah. You're not one of those that couldn't wait to retire so that you could relax.
Yeah, that I'm trying to do that.
I
But
thought we retired so we could cook soup. Isn't it? What did I miss?
That's
That's
what
right.
we're doing.
I've come back, right? I was too busy before, but now I've been, now I have time for kind soups. It's good. So mine is really loose now. I could give another look. I just want to check my butternut squash here. So it's still a little crunchy, but soft enough to bite into easily. So I'm going to add my other stuff, but this is what it looks like for now. It's still pretty, I mean, it's full, but it's loose, it's liquid.
Yeah.
So once I put everything else in, it might not be so much.
Marsha, do you not use the Chipotle chilies because you don't like spice, or why do you not use them?
So this time, actually, I usually don't use them because not everyone in my house likes spice, but what I got this time is from Trader Joe's. It has, which way am I going? Here we go. It's diced and fire roasted with green chilies. So we'll see how that turns out
Okay.
today. Half of this and half without the chipotle.
Oh yeah, that's entirely more mild than the Chipotle and adobo. That stuff is serious.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, of course, everyone likes different things on their chili. I just realized I didn't buy cilantro. I do love cilantro. A lot of times we put pumpkin seeds on all of our red kind of dishes. So we like that. Sour cream or whatever variation on that you like is also good. So mine is pretty full now too. It's up to the top with stuff. And if it's really full, once it cooks down some more, I'll probably add a little bit more of some sort of canned tomatoes. But it works out usually like this is okay, but it's, I think it depends on your containers of, I don't know if all you guys get the chopped butternut squash. A lot of people were saying they're doing their own lately, which I got to get into that because I hate the plastic, but it's so tempting to get it already made.
What about adding water to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it, but you probably could. And then just, it may take a little bit more salt and chili powder just to, make up for that. But it would probably be fine. And, I always, when I do that, I always try to just reproduce the spices that went in. And so I might use garlic powder since the garlic's already cooked and everything. You don't want to add fresh garlic, but if you wanted to sprinkle a little garlic powder and put some more chili powder and just play with it. I think mine today, I won't need to add any liquid to it, but it does vary from time to time.
Marsha, do you ever add cumin to this? It seems to me that would be a flavor that would work well.
I don't love cumin, but I love coriander. So I sometimes substitute that for cumin, but that would be fine. I mean, that's a good Mexican chili.
Yeah. I'm doing 2 pots, so maybe I'll do one with and one without I like to do that,
Yeah,
tasting of the different flavors to find which one works better to my palate.
that's my kind of thing. I would go for it. Yeah, it's funny that somehow that taste isn't my favorite, but what's interesting is that when you mix flavors together and you don't taste that particular flavor, sometimes it just enriches
Right.
what you're tasting. So I do use it, but I just cut it and use coriander in junction. But we did this was a previous cooking course. We did a taste test that was so interesting to me. I don't like, oh gosh, what are the little gray, come on.
Papers.
Papers.
I'm with you.
I don't like them at all, or particularly, I mean, they just have a certain taste and I don't add them to anything. But we had to do a taste test where I think we tasted lemon and then we tasted capers and then we tasted something else. And then we did 2 together, the other 2 together. And it was so interesting that when you mix enough things together, you don't taste, let's say, the capers, but the whole taste is so much richer because you have those different different components in it. And it was just like an eye opener, because it's like, oh, I shouldn't leave out everything that I don't like, because when it's in the gamish, then you don't have to worry what any one particular thing tastes like.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a capers fan either. But when they're in certain things, I really like the dish with them. Same thing with olives. Like I would not eat olives themselves. To me, that's like the same category as the caper. There's something about the flavor, but I of course use olive oil almost exclusively. And olives in food enhance certain things. And I'm like, why is it I like them when they're in certain dishes? But if you put one on a plate and said, eat this olive, I would, recoil from that.
Well, there's got to be, what is it in the capers? Because in piccata, they demand capers, and it doesn't seem like anybody wants to sit there and eat them as they're eating that yummy sauce. So what is it about it that capers adds to that dish and any other? We don't know.
I think it's because they're pickled.
Yeah.
I had some in my fridge and I actually tasted one because I've always said, oh, I don't like capers. My favorite recipe of my mother's is from the Silver Palette cookbook. And it is chicken marbella, which is chicken and prunes and green olives and capers and oregano. And and white wine. I have to leave out the white wine, and I've always left out the capers. But it's one of our family's favorite dishes. So I might try it next time with the capers, because I think it would add a little piquant. It's vinegary. I mean, I love vinegar and I love sauerkraut and things like that. So I'm going to give it a try next time.
Ooh, we're looking forward to hearing, Alexa.
And the caper is the bud of a nasturtium flower.
No.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
It's a pickled nasturtium flower bud.
All right, so here's a fun fact that I just learned. Buckwheat is gluten-free. It has nothing to do with wheat. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was like the wheat before it gets refined.
Right.
It's a coarser thing. Interesting.
Yeah. I forget, it was part of like the artichoke family, I want to say. It was some part of some family that was like, what? Because when I bought it, I made this dish recently of green beans with buckwheat with this really good creamy sauce on it. And when I got the package and I said, how could buckwheat be gluten-free? That makes no sense. And it turns out it has nothing to do with wheat, period. Very interesting. And
So
then I thought factor might be gluten-free, but that is wheat. So, you got to be careful if you're serving someone who is celiac.
So Marsha, did I misunderstand? Did you added 2 tablespoons of chili, or the chili powder, and then Coke. Is there really a chili cocoa?
So there used to be cocoa chili.
Where do you get it?
You can't get it anymore.
Oh,
I
so-
have searched the internet.
Okay.
And you
But-
can't, it used to be just like a, one of the typical spices, you just pull it off the shelf, but it's not made anymore evidently. But I've just been sort of fooling around in a saucer and adding, and so I wouldn't say I've figured it out exactly, but
Unsweetened cocoa is a good.
yeah. What I
Okay.
ended up with here, we'll see how it tastes, is 4 teaspoons of chili with 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So because when I just a little cocoa to the chili, it didn't make any difference. And I
Okay.
had to add more.
Oh, more cocoa than the chili. Interesting.
But
again,
actually, tablespoons and 1 tablespoon is like 2 and a little bit of teaspoon. So it's actually almost half and half, because 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder is like 5 teaspoons.
6. So it's, yeah, let me see what it looks like now. Like I said before, my taste buds were overwhelmed, so I couldn't tell.
Susan, I don't remember why you said your stage name is Jumble.
It's actually Jumbie.
Oh, Jumble.
Was one of our first Rhodesian Ridgeback, and my husband named the computer that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I know you told us and I couldn't remember. Thank you.
That's silly.
Fun.
I put a square of unsweetened baking chocolate in there.
Ooh. Going right to the source.
I think
Yeah, but what else could we use for cocoa? And I do that with other chili when I make regular chili, the recipe that I use. And so I thought, well, why not? I think it actually, how the tomatoes, like you said before, could be like acidic,
Yeah.
and a little tart. I think it sort of smoothed things out. It tastes not
Yeah.
sweet, but it's not pungent. I think it was a nice addition. I was hesitant to recommend it because I didn't know how it was going to taste, but overall, I think it was a good idea.
No, that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for entertaining me tonight. It's very different to listen to the call and not do anything. I mean, it's, it's not even like when I'm ahead on the soup and I have, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It's very interesting, but you've all succeeded in making me very hungry. So I'm going to go upstairs and make my exciting dinner, which means I have to tell David how to boil water. Very sad.
Well, it was good to see you. Thank you for watching us cook soup.
What's next week's soup? Is it something that I might be able to cook, or is there too much chopping, do you think?
I can't remember what it entails, but it's a redo of the autumn wild rice, wild
Oh,
autumn.
God. Oh,
Everybody
with
loved that
mushrooms.
soup.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite one ever, except for your recent chicken rice soup.
Oh yeah, that was so good, right? You liked it.
I literally
Wasn't that last
ate
week?
it like 2 weeks ago. Wasn't I ate it every day until it was gone.
it was last week because someone brought me some and it was very good.
Oh,
Good.
good. Yeah, that was a good soup too. So this wild autumn rice soup, whatever it's called, is delicious. I was going to lead it. We cooked it before, but I'm excited to tell you before Marge hangs up. Selma and her daughter introduced us to this soup, which was originally from Gimme Some Oven or something like that. And Selma's daughter has, in the year since then, created a company called Soiree. And what she does is makes it easy for people to host others in their home. Fancy, not fancy, theme, not theme. She just puts it all together for people online. And so I'm interested and excited anyway to learn about what she does. I may be past the point of being a good learner about hosting. I'm set in my ways at this point, but she's going to join us and lead that soup again on Monday. And so we'll get to learn a
Fantastic.
little bit about this 20-something's new business called Soiree. And we'll be cooking that soup. So I hope you all can
My
join us.
recollection is there are a lot of mushrooms in that soup.
Yes, so
Which
you
is
buy
one of
them
the reasons
chopped.
I liked it.
Yes.
So either I'm gonna have to buy them pre-sliced
Yeah,
or
easy
I mean,
peasy.
too much for David. There's no way, I'm telling you. He can open a can of tuna fish. He's doing
Buy
it.
it sliced. It's worth it. It's a great soup, Marge. And we
It-
want to
it
see you
is.
next week.
Okay,
dry-
well, hopefully I'll be cooking. Maybe my arm will be slingless.
We
please.
hope so. Good luck with that.
Thank you so much.
All right,
But-
bye.
Good.
Bye.
All right, everybody else, we're staying on for a few minutes.
She go off already? I was gonna tell her, she lives right across the way from me. I'm gonna bring her a thing of soup when it's done.
Aw,
Right? I mean.
I'll text her. Yeah, I'll text her and tell you you're coming over with that thing of soup.
Yeah, it'll take a while until it's cool enough to put into a container, but
Okay,
I will do that.
I'll tell her. That's so nice.
She always does so much for everybody, you know? It's. So I just tasted mine. It's really good. I put the 2 teaspoons, I've never measured it before, but I put the 2 teaspoons of salt in, like we said, and I poured some of that chili powder in, however I mixed it up, I don't know. And it's good. It's good. It's just not ready yet because it's not soft enough.
That's what I thought. I tasted mine a little bit ago and liked the flavor, but thought it needed to cook more. Yeah.
Yeah. And it could take a while, but just keep
Too late. Yeah, keep stirring it.
Somebody was asking if they added water. I've actually added water multiple times now because I didn't have butternut squash and I didn't want to go to the store, but I had sweet potatoes, white sweet potatoes that I really needed to use up. So I chopped them pretty small and they are still hard as a rock. So I also had crushed tomatoes instead of any other kind of tomato. So mine is very thick soup. So I'm adding water and I'm assuming even if I add kind of a lot, it'll cook down because it's going to take forever for the sweet potatoes. And I think butternut squash will cook faster, but I think it's going to be fine even if I added water.
Let me know how it is. I love potatoes and I've made this, I'm sure, with half and half because if I have sweet potatoes, I use them. But I am a potato person. Anything you could put potatoes in is good.
Mhm. Okay.
So I don't know if this made a difference and did anybody else do this, but in order to peel my butternut squash, I did puncture them with a fork and microwave them for about 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And my squash is done.
Ah,
We-
no.
I
Makes
don't know if
sense.
because, yes, I mean, they certainly weren't cooked when I peeled them, although some of the, more narrow parts of the squash were kind of more tender. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe that's what helped because
Oh, much
I didn't
better.
chop it super tiny, but my squash is definitely done.
Right. Much better if you had microwaved them. I bought mine from Trader Joe's, so they're beginning to get soft. It's taking a while.
Yeah. So do you microwave it in order to peel it? Does that make it easier to peel?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so you puncture it with a fork all over.
Yeah.
And you cut the ends off and you cut the bulb. I usually cut the bulb from the stem before I microwave it. I don't think it matters. And then you microwave it for about 3 minutes and then you let it cool enough that you can peel it. Otherwise you burn your hands off. But,
Right.
But it makes it really easy to peel. It's so much nicer.
What I'm doing next.
And less expensive too.
Yeah, brilliant all around.
No plastic. I'm all for no
The
plastic.
internet.
Brilliant.
The first time I had to cook butternut squash, I was like, how do you peel this thing? Go on the internet. That's how I found out.
Was there a YouTube, Susan?
Yep, there's
Yeah.
several.
All right, good. I'll add it to the website somewhere. Oh, I can't do that anymore. Now we have this nice, clean website. I have to get stuff approved. Oh, thank you. But now every thought I have, I can't like just put on the internet on
Right.
our website. All right.
Do you think if we cover it, it would cook, it would get softer sooner if we cover it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I keep having to stir mine a lot because I have it on medium in a super huge pot, and the bottom gets. You'd still want to take it off and make sure it's not burning on the bottom if you put a cover on it.
Great. Okay.
So
Okay.
it sounds like everybody's going to be cooking for a while longer still. Does anybody need Marsha for anything before we let her go?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Marsha.
Thank you, Marsha.
Thank you, Marsha. It was nice to meet you.
Nice.
Thank you, Marsha.
Everybody have a nice week and we'll see you next week for a soiree.
Looking forward to it. See
All
ya.
right, take care all.
Bye.
Bye.